And we're live on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, this is a presentation with Adrian from Groundhog. We're going to be talking about all things marketing, automation, courses, and turning your WordPress into the CRM. So I'm going to start this off here in just a moment. So hang in there on YouTube as we get started.
Specials work if they send us the specials. Go back to the recording.
All right, we're at time. Hello and welcome everyone to this training. I'm joined today with Adrian Toby from Groundhog. He is the founder of Groundhog, which is a marketing automation / CRM / email list tool for WordPress. It does a lot of things. It's really interesting to me because Lifter LMS, as an example, is a platform plugin. It does a lot of things from inside WordPress. And I've always been interested in this space where, WordPress can send emails, your website can send emails. Your users are kind of like a contact list and a CRM. Is it possible to actually do it all with WordPress? So I'm excited to explore that with you today, Adrian. Stay to the end. If you're watching this, because we are going to be doing a Lifter LMS giveaway that if you're live at the end, we're going to draw randomly from the crowd. This is also a interactive presentation. So if you have questions, please use the chat, use the Q&A box. If you're watching this on YouTube Live or Facebook, we're going to keep an eye on the comments over there, and we'll answer your question as well. Also, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, we will post a link to join this webinar live if you want to come over here and be eligible for the giveaway and just kind of have access to the live chat over here. But first, Adrian, welcome. Thanks for coming. I really appreciate it.
Hi, Chris. Thank you for having me. And thank you, everybody who is on the call today to learn with us about how we can utilize my plugin Groundhog paired with Lifter LMS in order to do some really fantastic stuff in terms of maximizing student engagement, decreasing churn, and increasing your revenue. And we're going to talk about a whole bunch of cool stuff. So if it's okay at this time, I'd love to be able to share the deck that I have prepared for this webinar. Can I go ahead and do that at this time?
Yeah, let's get this party started. And I always like to ask before we go, Adrian, do you prefer to save questions to the end or take them as you go?
So I do prefer to not at the end, but there will be breaks in between all of the four different things that we are going to learn today. I'm going to go over through all that and when would be the best time to ask questions. So let's just go ahead and dive in. Let's share that. And you should be able to see my screen. Can I just get a verification for that?
Yep, we can see it.
Brilliant. So thank you everyone to coming to today's webinar. Today we are going to learn about how we can increase sales, maximize engagement, and reduce churn when it comes to your LMS website, your learning management platform, and providing better content to your users. So if you have ever had customers abandon your checkout process, they wanted your course, they were almost there, they were on the checkout page, but then they had buyer's remorse, or they thought, maybe this isn't right for me, or if you've had customers cancel because they didn't know where to start with your course, you've had customers cancel because they forgot about it, it happens. You have a conversation with your customers and then it kind of just falls by the wayside. They never take action. Or if you've had to provide extensive support for simple questions, then you are currently in the right pace, because we are going to talk about some strategies that you can implement in order to solve those questions. So you will specifically learn how you will be able to increase sales signups using simple marketing automation, utilizing our plugin paired with some other tools, and of course, Lifter LMS, how you can decrease cart abandonment. So we were talking about if you've had people going through that abandoned process, how exactly we can plug that hole, how you'll be able to maximize student retention. We're going to be talking about churn and how we can minimize that as well. So those are the things that we're going to learn today. But before we get into that, is it okay if I share a little bit about myself?
Go for it.
Awesome. So for those of you who do not know who I am and why you're actually listening to me in the first place, my name is Adrian. I am the CEO and founder of Groundhog. We are a marketing automation plugin for WordPress. We develop tools that allow businesses to scale and grow their lists right within the WordPress space. We believe that all businesses, regardless of location, language, or budget, deserve equal access and opportunity to sales and marketing tools that can help them grow their business. And bonus fact, I am really into sailing and cycling. Those are my sports of preference. I'm not very much good at anything else because I have a bum knee. But I digress. I'm also the founder of FormLift. If you are familiar with the Infusionsoft marketing automation system, then we provide sales and a form plugin for WordPress that utilizes the Infusionsoft system as well. So that's where I kind of started learning about marketing automation and how these systems and processes work and exactly ways that we can optimize that process overall. So I was actually an Infusionsoft certified partner since 7 years ago and only recently stopped being an Infusionsoft certified partner when I started Groundhog. But I learned a lot about implementation and the tools, and I took all of the knowledge and took everything that I learned in that time period and applied it to building a WordPress optimized CRM and marketing automation platform, which is now Groundhog. So that's where all of that experience is coming. That's where all of that knowledge is coming from, is from that community. I also worked in a digital marketing agency as well for the better part of 9 years, and Infusionsoft is included in that experience. So lots of information from working on various companies, various businesses, until finally we're like, hey, listen, we've been using all of these other tools for a really long time. Infusionsoft, GetResponse, Marketo, ActiveCampaign, the list goes on. Why don't we actually just create one that's optimized for the businesses that we work with, which are small businesses that use WordPress? So that's the tools that we designed, and that's what I'm going to be showing you a little bit about today. And for those of you who don't know Chris, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. I'm the co-founder of Lifter LMS, which is a WordPress tool for creating, selling, and protecting engaging online courses. We've been at this rodeo. We're coming up on our 5th birthday, which is awesome. Before that, I ran a WordPress agency, a WordPress development solution building agency. We also had a background in we had a lot of clients who were using Infusionsoft, some of the automation, just kind of concepts and stuff that go into Lifter LMS. And what makes me excited about what you've got going on at Groundhog, where you can do personalization. So we're kind of, Adrian and I overlap a bit just in terms of background and philosophy and that sort of thing.
Awesome. Thank you. So I stuck you in here because some of the list people are coming from my list, some of the people your list. So a better part of both worlds here. So this is, I had mentioned, when is the best time to ask questions? So if you have questions, do leave them in the chat area. And what I'm going to get, Chris, if you're okay with this, what I'm going to get you to do is compile kind of all of the questions that happen in between segments. And then I will pause and say, hey, listen, if there's any questions, now is the time to ask them. And then I'll be able to just kind of answer all the questions within that section all in one go. And then we'll be able to move on to the next point. How does that sound?
You got it. Sounds like a plan.
Brilliant. Thank you. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to learn about today is we're going to talk about how we can go about increasing sales. And with marketing automation and what we actually do in focus here, there are actually 2 ways that when it comes to your LMS site, that we can do to actually go about and improving sales for you. So the first way is to improve the content/frequency that you communicate with your customers that happen pre-sale. This is very intuitive, and it's not exactly new information that you probably heard of. But regardless, I'm going to show you how you can actually improve that content and frequency of which you communicate with your customers in order to provide them with more confidence about the purchase that they're about to make. Secondly, is to decrease the number of abandoned carts. So that, again, that pre-sale journey, if they get to your checkout process and they have that buyer's remorse, or they think, I can't afford it, or their mom calls and they just forget about it, or their credit card doesn't work for whatever reason, how we can actually recoup those lost sales and turn them into revenue later on. And at this point, we're actually going to go into a demo. I'm going to pull up Groundhog, and we're going to launch into some actual implementations. That's super exciting. And again, if you have questions, just leave them in the chat and we'll be able to get to them after this section is over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up my example demo site here. There we go. So Groundhog is a free WordPress plugin. So you can just go to plugins in your WordPress admin area, type in Groundhog, and be able to install our plugin automatically right through the WordPress interface. And it allows you to do a bunch of cool things. It allows you to build automation, funnels. It allows you to manage your contacts in CRM all within Groundhog. It allows you to provide tracking links and it provides reports and a whole bunch of cool stuff. But what we're going to focus on today is the funnels and automation portion of the plugin, as that is what is most relevant to what we're talking about in terms of being able to recoup contacts and ensure that they get their communications and all of that good stuff. So what I'm looking at right now is our funnel builder.
Adrian, I think we're just on Google search screen.
Are we just on Google search?
Yep.
Oh my goodness. There we go.
There we go.
You got it?
Yep.
Brilliant. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to, there we go. Okay. So what we're looking at now is we are looking at our funnel builder. Now the funnel builder, what it allows us to do is design automation and build funnels, marketing automation, campaigns, whatever you want to call it. If you're coming from another marketing service, you may have heard them called funnels, automations, workflows. They go by many names depending on the software that you use, but we call them funnels because essentially what a funnel does is it takes a bunch of people at the top and then it works their way down until you have a few people at the bottom, which are in most cases rather than not your customers. So when you install Groundhog, we provide you with a bunch of funnel templates that you can use to build and design a process, of campaign, a funnel, again, whatever you want to call it. And what we are going to do is we are going to build one which essentially provides us with the portion that increases the quality of the content and the frequency of which we are able to communicate with our customers, which is the first way that we can increase revenue. So the way that we are going to do that is if you were an LMS company, you more often than not provide videos or you provide essentially a learning environment. More often than not, people learn something. And one of the ways that we learn, for example, right now is a webinar registration. Webinars are a great way to sell. They're a great way to inform people of the type of content that they can expect from you if they were to sign up, if your webinar is similar to the type of content that you actually provide. So what I just did there is I just clicked start building on this webinar registration funnel, and it automatically builds me an entire funnel that I can then modify to my heart's content in order to design a sales process that fits my goals and fits what my customers are expecting in terms of a customer journey. So we're looking at the funnel canvas right now, and there's lots of buttons, and we'll get to all of that in time as we kind of work our way through. But essentially, we have a top-to-down canvas here that will allow us to build our process automation funnel. We have web forms, we can send emails, we have timers in here, all to essentially guide our customer from the top down to the bottom, again, taking a lot of people at the top and thinning them out through various criteria down until we have a few people at the bottom that then become our customers. So to walk you through what's actually going on here, right at the top, we have a registration form. So we have our form builder, which is just a basic shortcode builder. If you are familiar with anything like Contact Form 7, if you're in the WordPress community, you probably know what that plugin looks like. Then this is a very similar look and feel. We basically just add our fields into our form builder, and at any point, we can then delete them, add them, modify them, and then we grab our shortcode and we go paste that on any WordPress page that we want. So let's say, for example, we take this form, we build it, we collect first name, last name, email address. We can go stick it on a page, which is our webinar registration landing page, run a bunch of Facebook ads or Google advertising, wherever it is that you want to that page, and collect those leads for our webinar, which would then, the point of the webinar is to sell them into your course. So following them actually registering for that webinar, however you choose to host that webinar through Zoom or whatever, we will then be able to send them drip emails or automated timed emails. So our first email would be an email confirmation. That's like, hey, listen, thank you for signing up for X webinar. You're really going to love it. Here are the things that you're going to learn. And here are the things that you're going to want to come prepared with. And then there's instructions of where you should actually insert the name of your webinar or the topic that you're talking about. You can then, again, modify all of this text. You can drag in images, code blocks, spacers, dividers, buttons, call to actions. You can preview it for mobile and desktop and update it and do all of your editing for this email. It's a very intuitive email editor. And it's also an email editor which we've tested across all of the various different email clients that exist. Outlook, Yahoo, iCloud, Gmail, of course. If you prefer to log into like cPanel Webmail, Roundcube, or whatever it's called. So we've tested them all and they all look really good. Let's just go ahead and close that. And then you can send these series of emails up until the date of the webinar. Because more often, how many times have you signed up for a webinar and then a week goes by, 2 weeks goes by, and then, oh shit, you missed the webinar because you either didn't receive an email notification or the email notification ended up in your promotions folder or whatever. It's hard to maintain that sort of attention when you're always competing in the inbox for, well, essentially from other competitors and other companies. So you want to make sure that you have automation system processes that send out a high frequency of essentially notifications so that someone doesn't forget about you and you end up at the bottom of the list. So what we have going on here is we have our initial confirmation, which gets sent out instantly. Following that, we essentially wait until a few days before your webinar. So wait 2 days before whatever your webinar is, and then send an email at 9:30 a.m. Then we send another reminder, and then another reminder, timer, reminder, essentially 3 of them up until the day before, and then finally the day of at 30 minutes, and then so on. Following that, those notifications and the actual starting of the webinar, we can then send them the replay link. So if I assume that you have a replay and if you want to send out a replay to your subscribers, then what you would be able to do is copy the replay link and you'd be able to add it to one of the emails. For example, this email, watch the replay. Nice big CTA there. And you can, again, edit this, edit colors, edit fonts, edit all of that good stuff. Add the link into that button. And you'd also be able to track dependent on whether they clicked that. So if the people who watch the replay are, for example, higher quality candidates than those who don't, you would be able to track whether these people or not watch the replay. So be able to copy this tracking link, paste our webinar replay link in there, paste that in the email, and then whenever they click that link, we would be able to track that action if they clicked it, and then more automation would then ensue. So lots of good stuff going on here. It allows us to really understand and really ensure that those who sign up for our stuff actually get what they're asking for, actually show up, and then we can then track their responses and their activity following the actual production of the webinar and then sending them the replay. Following all of this, because this is all well and good by itself, but now we talked about increasing the frequency and the content of your actual communication with your customers. You don't want to be too frequent, once every other couple of days. You can then start dragging in further steps into this funnel. So if I want to send another email following my reply to how is the webinar, we can then start doing that. We can send it 3 minutes, 3 days, 3 hours, following whenever they ended the webinar, and then follow up with that communication, ensuring that they understand what your promotion is. So if you're ending your webinar with a promotion or with a deal or with a call to action, if they didn't stay for the full webinar, you need to ensure that they actually understand what that call to action is by sending an email to them after they finished it or after they left, or whatever conditions that you want to set forward. So that's how that kind of all works. And that is how we can increase the frequency and the content of at least one of the ways that we can increase the frequency as well as the quality of the content that we're using in order to promote whatever it is that you're trying to offer to your prospective customers. That was a whole mouthful, and that was also a lot of information all at once. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a pause, and if we have any questions, Chris, now would definitely be the time.
What the question always comes up about email deliverability from your website. What do you have to say to that?
So email deliverability is a huge thing that we take very, very, very seriously. Excuse me. So one of the things that people do is they send emails directly from their host. You should never do that. And there are a few reasons for that. If you send emails from your host, especially if you're on shared hosting, you are sharing an IP address with like 1,000 other websites that have no regard for your IP reputation. So you should always be using a reputable email service. For example, we have our own called the Groundhog Sending Service, where we do IP reputation management, domain reputation management, and all of that good stuff, spam management, complaint management, And there are lots of other services that do that as well. SendGrid, Mailgun, SparkPost are all examples of companies that provide managed email delivery services. So one of the things that we do is we highly recommend that when you install Groundhog, as you're going through the guided setup process, is to either use our Groundhog sending service or sign up for one of the other ones that exist, depending on pricing or your use case or whatever it is that, or you already have an account with one of them, for example, and then use that. And then they essentially handle your email deliverability. In terms of the emails that Groundhog creates themselves, I mentioned that all of our emails are compatible in all of the different email clients. They're pretty no frills, so you're not going to get the advanced email editor. That's, for example, in like something like MailChimp. But the reasoning behind that is that no frills emails generally have to have 25% better open rates and click-through rates anyway. And there's actually a blog on our website that you can go check out about pretty email versus plain email. And the actual hard statistics that proves that plainer emails actually perform better in the inbox from being in the main inbox or in the updates folder versus the promotions folder almost every single time. So that's what I have to say about email deliverability in terms of from Groundhog. Our email deliverability is great. I have no complaints. We generally get about 40 to 50% open rates, which I think is pretty good considering that we're an email marketing company.
That's awesome. Michael,
hopefully that answers your question, and thank you for bringing it up.
And Groundhog does have its own service, like SMTP deal,
yes,
right?
It's called the Groundhog Sending Service.
Yeah.
We also do, so it's not just email that we do through that service as well. It's also text messaging, so SMS, which is a default feature that's not available in all email marketing providers, but we actually offer it as a default service. You can actually, in the right-hand side here, if you're looking at my screen right now, you can actually just drag in an SMS and you'll be able to send that directly from your website.
Michael has a question I want to get to next, but just real quick, if we use this flow to sign up for a webinar, is this creating a user on our site?
It can, and that's totally dependent on you. So if I were to write down here in the actions on the bottom right-hand side, I can just drag in a user and boom, I can now create a user with whatever user role that I want.
So if we wanted to do like a low commitment webinar training registration, and then later in the nurture sequence, we're offering let's say a free course that's more in depth and longer as part of our sales process, or just training process, they're already logged in, they have a user on our site, one step's out of the way already in terms of checkout.
Exactly. So if you wanted, one of the things that we do on our own sign-up process is if you were in Europe or you're in Canada, we have something called CASL or GDPR, which has strict restrictions around what can be considered marketable and unmarketable in terms of the compliance of an email address. So what we like to do is we like to actually collect email confirmation to show that someone is an actual person, not just spam.
Yep.
And have them confirm their email address before we create an account. And that's a process that you can also set up in one of these flows as well.
That's awesome. Yeah. Michael asked, and we've got some more questions coming in here. Michael asks, the form at the top has HTML and JavaScript, and it says shortcake, but I think he meant to write shortcode, right? So that's a question. And then can I load the JS or HTML script on a different domain WordPress installation?
Oh, so he's talking about these. So yeah, there are three different ways that you can embed a Groundhog form. One is with the shortcode. So if you're on your own WordPress website, then you just use the shortcode anywhere, wherever shortcodes are accepted. There's also the JS script, which is the second option, and you can embed that anywhere. So if you want to, on a separate website, on your own WordPress website, in wherever essentially JS script is accepted in terms of websites, so it doesn't have to be your website. So the JS script will work anywhere. And then the last option is just raw HTML embed code. Again, that will work anywhere. And the reason we provide that is if you use something like Thrive Architect and you want to use their form builder, you can just copy and paste this form code directly into their form builder, and it'll parse it and then create the form using their form builder, which is proprietary. That's how you say that word. So those are the three different options, and they will. So the latter of the two will work anywhere, while the shortcode will only work on your website. Hopefully that answers your question.
I think so. And as another example, like if you were using something like Opt-in Monster, you could put the form in a pop-up powered by Opt-in Monster, which comes from somewhere else.
Exactly. So you could do all of that cool stuff.
Cool. Kurt asked, he says he recently installed Groundhog. He signed up for the sending service and has been setting up CNAME parameters in his server. He's looking forward to playing with it and seeing the results. So he's just leaving it. That's more of a comment. That's
Thanks,
awesome,
Kurt. We're excited for you too. If you have any questions, just pop them into the Facebook group.
Nathan Tyler asks, are there developer docs for adding a third-party plugins functionality as Groundhog actions or triggers? Nathan's the creator of Simply Schedule Appointments, which is a sort of like a Calendly for WordPress.
Yes, there is docs.groundhog.io. But I think what we're going to do at this point is if the questions are not specific towards what we've talked about so far, what we're going to do, I think, is move on. And then the more general questions, like stuff like that, we can answer at the end. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
All right. So are there any questions that are specifically geared towards increasing or the quality of content and frequency of which we email our potential subscribers in like a funnel flow like this?
I think that's it for now.
I think that's it for now. Okay, brilliant. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to move on. And I think what I've done here is I've closed my slides. So just excuse me while I open that really quickly. I don't think there's anything relevant in my drive that I should be worried about. And boom, there we go. Brilliant. Okay. So, I did forget. I forgot that I was going to talk about decrease the number of abandoned carts. That's also something that is really important when it comes into that pre-sales engagement and ensuring that you have a large, or you can at least recoup that percentage of customers that decided not to buy for whatever reason. Again, those reasons aren't always that it's just not for them. It's their credit card didn't work because they're in another country, for example. Their grandmother called and they had to get away from the computer. They had someone knock at the door. There's a variety of reasons why someone abandoned checkout and just forget, and that's okay. That happens. What marketing automation allows us to do is to remind them that they actually intended to take that action in the first place and then re-engage with that. So actually go through that checkout process. So the process of setting something up like that might look like the following. So I'm going to go back to my funnels. I'm going to add a new one. And I'm just going to select start from scratch. And I am going to simply set up a page visited goal. So if you have a specific sales page or a checkout page on your site, then what you will be able to do is track when people visit a specific page. So let's do, I'm just going to select a random page because I don't actually have any checkout process on this site. So I just select a random page, but just assume that it's your checkout page. And then anybody who has the tracking cookie enabled in the browser will then be able to complete this benchmark, this blue thing here, which is called a benchmark, trigger, action, goal, whatever you want to call it. And then we will be able to then launch a series of events. So I can then take a timer and I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt, and I'm gonna give them up to 3 hours to actually go through that checkout process. And if within 3 hours they didn't go through that checkout process, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to send them an email that's like, hey, you didn't buy, come back. Spell it correctly because spelling is important. Come back and 4 exclamation marks. And that would then include a link somewhere in the copy, something like, hey, listen, we know you wanted to buy this. We all get distracted, but we want to make sure that you get the tools and resources that you need in order to succeed. Here's a link to go back to the checkout and continue the process. And stuff like that has been claimed to increase sales by up to 10%, or at least decrease abandoned carts by 10%. However you want to look at that, it's basically the same metric. So that's something that we can do like there. And then again, we can bring in another timer, send another email, and this time we can include a coupon code or something that we might want to give them 10% off if they buy within the next 24 hours. It's up to you at this point how you want to incentivize them to take action sooner rather than later. But we actually want to kill this process if they actually go ahead and buy. So what you can do with tools like WP Fusion, Lifter LMS, and Groundhog is you can apply a tag to someone when someone purchases. I am using a trackpad and it is doing all sorts of janky stuff on me. There we go. So you can drag in a tag applied goal. And essentially what this will do is someone gets, let's say, new user or new student. Someone gets the new student tag before they send these emails. They'll essentially get sucked right from here all the way down here, and they won't receive any of those emails if they buy. So that way we can develop that automation that essentially bumps them to purchase something if they've abandoned the process for over 3 hours. Super cool stuff that you can do with automation like this that will help you recoup those lost sales that would have otherwise been lost forever. So do we have any questions about this process, Chris?
Not at this time. That's very cool, though, that you can do that. You mentioned WP Fusion. Maybe you could highlight on the intersection of WP Fusion, Lifter, Groundhog, and 2.0 and what your plans are or whatever.
I absolutely will. And there's a dedicated slide for that we'll actually get to.
Perfect.
Okay. So we're going to get there. Have no fear. So at this point, let's head on over back to the presentation and let's talk about maximizing engagement. So we just went over how we can increase the frequency, quality of the content that we use to communicate with our potential customers, as well as how we can decrease those customers that abandon the checkout process in order to create and increase your revenue. Let's talk about maximizing student engagement. So this is after someone has actually bought, they're in your website, and you want to ensure that they're getting the maximum amount of value out of whatever content it is that you're providing to them. And there's a few ways that we can do that. We can provide where to start guidance. So when they actually sign up, we guide them on how to use your platform, how to use your content, where to start. If you have multiple courses, they bought multiple courses, which one did they do first? We'll talk about how they can do that. How we can stay in constant communication during their learning process. So exactly how it is that we're going to be able to continue communication, but not personal one-on-one communication, but, well, it's still personal one-on-one, but not you actually physically going to your email and typing out an email to send to them during their learning, because that would take way too much time. And then finally, providing affirmation and confirmation of progress that is relevant to the course. So if they complete a course or they complete a section of your course, when it is that you can go in and you can say, hey, listen, via email or via SMS or whatever it is what you want to do, you can send them a little affirmation note and say, hey, listen, congratulations on completing the section of the course. Here are some resources that you should go check out, and provide that sort of affirmation. So let's demo and dive right back in, starting off with where to start in terms of their guide. Again, the trackpad. There we go. So let's jump right back in here. So we want to talk about how we can provide a nice guided user experience so that when they sign up. A lot of the times we see people abandon the process, even in our company. We don't necessarily provide training, but we do provide tools and resources and all of that stuff. And we have to ensure that they get at least like 10 days of an email every other day that provides them a system of where to start, where to go next, so that they experience success in the shortest amount of time. One of the greatest ways to ensure customer engagement is to make sure that they experience small successes in short amounts of time. So let's add a new funnel, and we want to do a welcome series. The welcome series is designed in order to provide your users with essentially, a welcome to the family experience. Here are where you need to go. Here are the things that you need to do. Here's the things that you need to keep in mind, and here's how you can get in touch with us. Those are essentially like the big points here. So I'm going to delete this form because we don't need it. And what we're going to do is we're going to drag in another tag applied goal, because we're just going to assume that they got that when they get this tag, we're going to be able to talk to them. So let's do new student. I'm going to add that tag. They're going to get that tag, and then they're going to be inserted into this funnel where we're going to be able to communicate with them. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to ask them to confirm their email address. It's super important that you get confirmed email addresses, especially if you're in Canada or anywhere in Europe. Or if you market to anybody who's in Europe, then you need to comply with the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation. So ensure that you're collecting confirmed email addresses. We're going to ask them to confirm. They should confirm because, well, they're a student now and they want to make sure that they receive our content. Following that, we can then start communicating with them after they've confirmed, and we can start creating our onboarding process. So what I'm going to do is we're going to send our welcome email, which is like our let's get acquainted thing. Here's everything that you need to know. So first off, we're so happy that you're part of whatever your business name is. It's really an honor. Before we start sending you anything else, I think we should get acquainted. So this is your more personal one-on-one communication. So they've come through your webinar. They kind of know who you are, but you want to provide a little bit more backstory, or for example, or what I like to call indoctrination. You want to indoctor your students with whatever your philosophy is, with whatever it is that you're trying to impart on them that will help them grow in whatever area that you're helping them grow in. So provide them with your bit of indoctrination, the history of your company, all of that good stuff. And that is the first email that we send out. I'm going to go ahead and close that. Then for every other day, we can drag in the delay timer. Let's do 2 days, just like that. Go ahead and update. And then we're going to send another email. And this email will be geared towards, hey, listen, we know that there's a lot of content that there is to consume in our LMS or in our course. Here are the things that you need to do in order to be successful with that information. A, take notes. B, ask questions. And C, complete the quiz with a 50% above or more, or whatever your criteria is for them being successful. And then they can have that sort of, before they get started and dive in and they get bogged down by lots of information, they can keep that information in the back of the head that that's the way that they're supposed to experience, or they're not supposed to experience, in which case you'd be able to provide them with the opportunity to ask questions and get confirmation on how they should be experiencing your content. And then we can follow that up with another delay timer, drag in an email, and then provide another resource for them to be able to reference when going through your content. So here are the links to our Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook channel so that you can go there and you can get supporting resources, ask questions, all of those stuff. In case you can't get in touch with us personally, you can get in touch with other people who have come through the course. We find this one to be probably the most beneficial email that we send is our links to supporting resources, our links to supporting areas. Or if you are part of the Facebook group, and for our Facebook group, for the people who are here from my list, then you are all too more than aware of the torrent of good torrent. It's a good torrent of information and questions and communication that happens within that Facebook group. Even if you don't use a Facebook group, if you use some sort of other forum, then having those lines of communication open are super important, and sending our links to those people so that they know that those are there is super important, because not everybody is going to look through all of the links that are in your footer or look through all of the links in the menu. You have to make, sometimes it's about sending them an email with a big red button that says, hey, listen, this exists, go here now, right? And that is what marketing automation or email marketing will allow you to do, is to be able to create that sort of that instant knowledge, that instantaneous transfer of knowledge from you to any one of your students, avoiding the inevitable question support of like, hey, where do I go to learn this? Where do I go to learn this? Where do I go to learn this? By providing those answers up front via an email and through this onboarding process that I'm taking you through now, you'll be able to avoid all of that and essentially just automate the process. And finally, you can essentially, for as much content as you need, you can just drag in timer, email, drag in timer, email, drag in timer, email. And it's a super easy process to do that. You just write as many emails as you need in order to transfer as much knowledge that should be instantaneous as you need to transfer for someone to be successful. Again, super huge torrent of content there. I'm going to take a break. Are there any questions, Chris?
Can you mix? I mean, you can mix SMS and email, like your onboarding. It's not just, this is an email series. I can mix and match.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can drag in any of these actions here. So apply note, apply tag, remove tag, SMS, email, admin notification. If you want to be notified at any point when someone does anything, you can send yourself a notification via email or via SMS. So that's something that you can do. So if someone registers for your course or register for your webinar and you want an instant notification that someone's done that, then that's something that you can do via that way as well. So you can mix and match. The SMS is a little bit more limited in the kind of content that you can send. For example, links are a little bit of the links are essentially raw, so they'll look up like raw links.
Yeah.
There's no HTML formatting for SMS messages. And they're also limited to 140 characters per SMS. If it's over 140 characters, it'll double charge for like 2 SMSs, but on modern smartphones like this one, it'll actually look like 1 SMS, but there's a 140 character limit for the actual length of 1 SMS that you can send.
What about, it does. Can you elaborate on apply owner? I think I know what that is, but like in the course context, often there might be like coaches or people that, kind of get set up with a certain group of contacts or whatever. What is apply owner used for?
So apply owner. So A lot of the people who are switching from Infusionsoft, ActiveCampaign, HubSpot, a lot of them have sales teams or sales reps, 1 or 2 or 3. And we want to be able to enable those people to continue using our systems exactly the same as they were before. So owners are essentially people are users in WordPress. So if there's 3 user types. There's marketer, the administrator, and a sales manager. And we can apply owners or add their sales team as users for the sales manager role in WordPress, and then add contacts as their owners. So if they log into the website, they'll be able to access the contacts database, but only be able to see the contacts or manage the contacts, edit the contacts, etc., of the contacts of which they are actually the owner of, and they won't be able to see other salespeople's contacts as well. So if you want to round robin, for example, new leads to your sales team, let's just drag in an apply owner step here. We can essentially select users from our user table who have either the sales manager, marketer, or administrator role, and distribute equally those leads to our relevant salespeople.
That's awesome. That makes sense. Thanks for explaining that.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions before I move on?
Stop me if you want to save it for later, but could you just do a quick tour of terms? I see like on the side, we have funnels, deals, pipelines. Like, how do we separate these things in our mind?
Absolutely. So in terms of what we actually see on the screen, there are these blue things and there's these green things. Blue things are called benchmarks. Green things are called actions. And the reason that terminology is, some people refer to these as automations, but I really think of them as funnels. I know funnel is like really overused, but as I said earlier, a funnel is really just something that takes a bunch of people from the top and then there's less people at the bottom. And usually those people at the bottom are more qualified and more ready to be a paying customer versus the number of people at the top. And really the way that we've designed the templates that are in the Groundhog Funnel Builder is they are all top to bottom processes. So we have a bunch of people at the top and then fewer people who are more qualified and again, more willing to pay money come out at the bottom. And that's why they're like that. And that's why we have the benchmarks and the actions. So benchmarks are whenever a contact does something. So they fill out a web form, they become a new user, they get a tag applied to them, they visit a page, etc. So whenever someone does something, and the action is the equal response to that. So we actually do something. For example, send an email, send an SMS, perform a timer, send an admin notification, apply a note, etc. So it's always like, if someone does this, then do this series or one thing until they do something else. One of the cool and unique things that Groundhog provides is being able to stack multiple benchmarks on top of each other. So we have this tag applied here at the top, and then we have this email confirmation, and there's a bunch of stuff that happens in between those two benchmarks. But we don't want the whole thing to actually execute if they go ahead and confirm their email right away. So if they go ahead and they complete this later benchmark, they'll actually be sucked out of anything that happened before it and then moved on to the next process. So that way you can develop super cool processes that provide fallbacks and like catch-alls and emails. But you can stop all of that when someone continues on the process of the funnel that you originally designed. So that is something that we can do as well. And then we have lots of other stuff. All of this is reporting enabled, so you can see how many people actually go through this thing at every given time. We can see at the top, we have a whole graph that goes on. This will look a lot cooler when people are actually going through it. One of the cool things that you can do with these funnels is you can export them. So I can actually go ahead and I just downloaded this funnel to my browser, and then I can go to any other WordPress website that has Groundhog installed and install the funnel there. I can copy a share link. So I can copy this link and share it with people if I want them to download my funnel directly via link. So if you want to share it in an email, for example, and then I can add contacts, or no, this is the replacement codes. I don't know where the add contacts is anymore, but I digress. You can also change the reporting for all of this as well. So lots of cool stuff happening now. On the left-hand side, we have contacts tag, emails, SMS. These 4 things should be more or less self-explanatory. We can view our contacts database. We segment people based on tags. If you're not unaware of what the tag is, if you're familiar with something like MailChimp, it's kind of like a list, although they're a little bit more fluid than that. So you can add tags and remove tags from contacts, and we use those to reference people whenever we want to do something. So if we want to export a list of people, we can say anybody who has this tag, we can get them and then export them. Or if we want to send a broadcast email, then we can send a broadcast email to anybody who has this tag. So stuff like that, we use those in order to reference groups of contacts that have similar attributes. Pipelines I'm not going to get into because that's actually a premium add-on that's currently that's in development, that's on the site, and that's not part of the free software. Everything that I want to show today, I want to be part of the free plugin so that anybody who's on this call, regardless of location, language, or budget, will be able to use the tools that we talk about today.
Awesome.
And then we have super links, which are basically advanced tracking links. And then there's some tool settings and events, but that's a little bit complicated to get into for today. So I hope that answers some of the terminology that you had questions about.
Yeah, it's a great high-level tour. Thank you.
Great. So are there any questions about any of that, or should I move on at this point?
I think we're good to proceed.
All right, we are good to proceed. I'm just going to go back here. All right, so we want to be able to stay in constant communication as your customers and your students are going through the actual course. We want to ensure that they're getting their supporting resources and they're essentially, they feel the love. If someone goes into your course and the only thing they're able to do is your course and you're not really like keeping in touch with them, they start to feel a little bit disenfranchised. Like, you are so willing to communicate with me and be my friend before I bought, but now that I bought, you're not really wanting to be my friend anymore. Where's the love? Where's the communication? I'm not sure if any of you have experienced that in the first, but I've gone through courses where that's certainly been the case. And I'm like, well, hey, I spent all this money. Where's the love? So we're going to be able to provide that love, but we're not going to have to do it manually. So let's go back to our funnels, add new. And for this one, we are going to use, we're just going to go back to a start from scratch email here. So utilizing tools, and I'm going to mention the name WP Fusion again, and I will explain what that is later, but I'm just going to seed it for now. WP Fusion allows Groundhog to talk to Lifter NOS really, really, really well, and you can apply tags and stuff when people register for courses or complete courses or sections and all of that good stuff. But what I'm going to do now is let's say, for example, someone just completed a course. And they get the tag completed course. You can rename this tag to whatever it is that you want. We want to be able to show this person the love and say, hey, listen, besides just the notification that's like, hey, you completed the course, congratulations, that's great. We want to be able to send a series of emails to ensure that they're actually able to implement and use that course to their benefit. Because we don't want just them to, they learn the information, that's great, but 90% of learning is implementation. So now they have to go and actually utilize that information in order to be successful with your course, because you want them to be successful, as that is your prerogative. You want to help them grow. So after they've completed that course, the journey is not over. We want to ensure that they get the tools that they need to implement that. So by providing them a little bit of supporting resources, we can ensure that that happens. So something along the lines of, after they complete the course, they get their email. Now it's time for implementation, something like that. And then we can continue the process. So delay timer. So let's say that on average, it takes 2 weeks for someone, or let's say a week for someone to implement whatever it is that you taught them. So I'm going to set my timer for 1 week after they've completed the course. And then I'm going to drag in another email. And then this email will be something along the lines of, how is implementation going? And then we can also continue that process, because if you send them an email and, how is implementation going? And what I like to do is, in any emails that are kind of like that, I say, just reply to this email if you need help. And you get a reply that's like, I need help, then it is your duty and responsibility to make sure that that person receives the help they need in order to successfully implement whatever it is that you're taught them. And I find that 9 times out of 10, this creates just such a massive better user experience, because we want our customers, our students, to be successful, because when they're successful, we're successful. And that's kind of what we want at the end of the day, right? And then we can continue this process again with however many, essentially just like pushes or touch-ins or touch points that you need in order to make sure that your students, after they're finished your course, they get that information and they actually become successful in implementation. So that is something that I like to do. We just recently launched our partner certification program. This is something that our partners are currently experiencing, along with a few other system processes. But if you're not doing this now, then you absolutely should be, because if someone goes through your course and then does nothing with it, not only does it not look good on them, it doesn't look good on you. And if they go and leave a review and they're like, hey, listen, I took this course, you know, the information seemed fine, but I never did any of it, and I never experienced any results. Well, then, yeah, there you go. Are there any questions, Chris, about that?
We have a question that came in about the SMS. What's that?
Let's do it.
It's just a question of, does it work everywhere in terms of like different countries or from one country to another? What should people be aware of?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
So it'll work everywhere essentially.
Awesome. That was the question that came in.
Cool. Super answer. You're good.
All right.
Okay. Should I move on?
Yeah, let's proceed.
All right. So that was, what did I just do there? Stay in constant communication during and after learning, I guess I should say. And then we want to provide affirmation and confirmation. So affirmation and confirmation. So if anybody has ever heard the term gamification, this is kind of a supplement to gamification. If you're familiar with gamification, every time someone gets a lesson or completes a lesson or completes a course, they get a badge or a score, or, you know, it says congratulations and there's like fireworks and all of that good stuff. And that is a very effective way to promote learning. So what we want to do is, I'm just actually going to use this funnel because it's very similar to what we talked about in terms of the actual implementation of the funnel itself. But let's say someone completes a lesson instead of a course. So someone completes a lesson. Then we want to be able to send them an email that's essentially congratulations. You've completed this lesson. That puts you in the top 10% of people who are currently in your vertical who don't have this kind of knowledge and therefore will not succeed as well as you will. And here are again just importing resources and things that you can do now with the knowledge that you have. And by providing them those little wins, you can seriously increase the enjoyment that they have out of going through the course, as well as the amount of information that they'll be able to retain. Retain is the word that I'm looking for. So they complete a lesson, you send them an email, you provide them that thing that they can now do. So for example, let's say someone just learned, so I'll take our partner certification, for example. One of our videos is going through the guided setup process with Groundhog and actually implementing it for a client. They go through that, and during the video, I'm like, hey, listen, if you're on a computer right now, put this video on one side, put your website on the other, and let's go through it together. And once they get to the end of that video, they're going to get an email that's like, hey, listen, congratulations, you went through the guided setup process. Here are your next steps before you go to the next video. And then they'll get that information, and then they'll implement whatever that information is at the beginning of the next video. It's like, congratulations, you know, you've gone through all of the steps, you know, give yourself a pat on the back, and now we're going to be able to do the next part. So things like that, things that allow people to feel good about the progress that they're making, and by providing affirmation to the progress that they're making, you can increase the amount of information that they retain, as well as decrease the amount that they might leave and abandon the whole process in the course and request a refund. So hopefully that all makes sense, and hopefully I'm making a lot of sense. And you're seeing the value of something like this, or a system like this would be able to provide in terms of providing extra value above and beyond for your clients. All right, that's it for this part. Are there any questions about this in general?
Terry Allison was just making a comment that, you know, she uses the language, or I'm not sure if it's she or he uses the language. He uses the language stick rate. So, you know, having that stick rate, having it, you know, stick with the learner is really important. And if you can measure that, that's awesome. Absolutely. And measurement is everything. So for example, if you want to measure the actual moving forward of your clients, Groundhog provides the ultimate system to be able to do that, because everything is trackable via tags and looking at, for example, this reporting view. So if you want to be able to track, you know, the experience that your customers are having via these little touch points and the follow-up after a completed course, then you'll be able to do exactly that using the system. So super important stuff. Thank you for bringing that up, Terry. One question, the Lifter LMS audience, there's a lot of course builders, people building training-based membership sites, but there's also a lot of freelancers and agencies who build these types of sites for clients. what do they get, or what's the partner program, the Groundhog Partner Program, all about?
So without getting too much into it, the Groundhog Partner Program is about providing those who want to sell, service, implement, or distribute Groundhog and the tools that we provide, and they want to be part of our community and they like what we're doing and they want to be able to help small businesses grow, then they can join our partner program where we train people exactly what it is that we're all about. We provide a lot of indoctrination. We provide them concrete examples of implementation, and we take them through the implementation process. And then we also provide learning about the different pricing structures and provide some selling tools that they can use in order to sell our products. And essentially, they get to be part of our community. They get to be upfront with me. Personally, we do lots of calls together, our onboarding calls, for example, when someone becomes a partner, and they're able to provide feedback, what they like about the plugin, what they don't like about the plugin, and provide suggestions and strategies that we can use to make better products in order to provide back to them so that they can provide a better experience and better tools and better systems and processes and funnels to their clients. So if you're an agency, freelancer, and your goal in life is to help other businesses grow their business, then the partner certification program might be something that you're interested in, as we're all about empowering you to be able to do that. So if that's something that you're interested, then you can go to groundhog.io/partner. And there's lots of information there about everything that I just talked about. But without going too far into that, that's what the partner program is about.
Another question for you. The Lifter LMS also has like a course export thing, so you can take it, it's a JSON file, and you can suck it right into another Lifter LMS site, and it's just a couple clicks. In terms of exporting and importing funnels with Groundhog, people can share. I'm asking you, people could share. Could they even, like, if they wanted to, let's say they figure out a killer campaign for something or funnel, could they sell that if they wanted to?
Absolutely. Such as the nature of the open source community. So you can copy, for example, this link. So these little 3 dots is our share link. You can go ahead and copy that, and you can paste that in an email. Anybody that you give that link to will be able to click, and it will immediately download the funnel into their browser. You can also click this right here to download the funnel instantaneously, and you can upload that to a store, or you can put it behind a paywall, whatever it is that you want to do, and then you'll be able to share that. I should mention, what we offer our partners is they can become vendors on our actual store. So part of Groundhog is we offer a marketplace. So if I go to funnels, add new, there's a marketplace tab, and you can actually partners can upload their funnel templates that they've had great experiences with and perform really, really well, and then share those and sell those with others directly through the inbuilt marketplace feature.
So you help people sell it if they want to sell it.
Absolutely. We're all about empowering. If you do not have a method of distribution to sell your own stuff, we will provide that method of distribution for you.
That's very cool. And we've got a question from John in the audience. He apologizes if you already covered this, but does Groundhog work with Gravity Forms? He uses Lifter a lot to apply custom tags through a Gravity form. I believe he's using WP Fusion, but where does Gravity Forms fit into the mix if people are already using that?
So if you have WP Fusion, then you can use WP Fusion to connect Gravity Forms and Groundhog, but we also have our own Groundhog Gravity Forms integration as well. So if you just want to take, if you can use our own personal integration, which you can get at groundhog.io/downloads or extensions or whatever the link is, then you can use that as well. So we support Groundhog internally. It is a premium extension. We are a freemium company. So everything that I'm going to show you in this webinar will be absolutely free, and you won't have to pay for any of it. But we also, the way that we make money is we provide premium plugins that allow you to integrate a host of tools. For example, all of the major form builders, Gravity Forms, WP Forms, Ninja Forms, etc., and connect those to Groundhog. And that's how we actually provide the revenue for this project.
Awesome.
Does that cover all of them?
That's it for now.
Brilliant. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is go back here. Okay, and now we got to talk about decreasing churn. So if you are a subscription company, so if you don't sell your course as a one-time fee, if you collect recurring course fees, as we collect recurring subscriptions for people who come through our partner program, as well as just through our extensions in general, churn is a big problem that sometimes subscription companies have to deal with, especially if they're not doing everything that we've already gone through. providing constant affirmation, providing good quality content, making sure that the frequency of your communication is really high up there. So churn is really the bane of all subscription companies. If you're not familiar with that actual term, that is, churn is the percentage of new customers which cancel or leave your service within the first few billing periods. So if you get like 100 new clients, if you do, that's awesome, that's amazing. But then you have 30% of those clients leave before the next billing period, you have a 30% churn rate. And sometimes churn rates are even higher. For some companies, churn rates are higher than the actual number of customers that they can lose, that they bring on, and you can actually see a net decrease of customers. Hopefully you don't have that issue. That's really an extreme case. But if you are having an issue where people are signing up and then they're not getting their value within a short enough period of time and they're leaving, then we have systems and processes that you can implement with Groundhog in order to make sure that maybe not all of them will stay, but at least a higher percentage of people will stay because they're seeing that value sooner rather than later. So most churn is the result of a lack of engagement. We already covered that a lot and how you can increase engagement. We need to keep providing value in forms of blog posts, videos, new content. Again, it's all part about the frequency and the quality of the content that we're ensuring people are receiving. If you all of a sudden forget about someone after they've bought something and you're not communicating with them and they're not seeing the love from you, then they will leave. So you have to make sure that that love and that relationship continues long past the point where they've actually given you money. And then finally, you need to make sure that they're logging in. One of the easiest ways to make sure that someone is actually consuming your content is making sure that they're logging in. And that is actually what we're going to cover for this last demo of the actual software itself. So let's hop into it. And this is one of the default funnel templates that you can install that comes pre-shipped with the plugin itself. And it's right here. It's called Login Abandonment. Now, people aren't consuming your content if they're not logging in. So it's really easy. This is probably the easiest. If you do anything or you take any value out of this, this is probably one of the easiest things that you can do and one of the lowest hanging fruit things that you can do. It'll take you literally like 5 minutes to implement. We can track when someone logs into your site. So when a user logs in anytime, then this funnel will run. And then we wait 7 days. So if they haven't logged in again within 7 days, let's just send them an email. It's like, we haven't seen you a week. Is everything okay? Hey, first, it's been a while since you logged in last. Is everything doing okay? We'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. If you've been having trouble finding anything, just let us know or log in now in order to continue your course, consuming content, whatever it is that you're providing to them. And then if they haven't done that, or they haven't clicked that link, or they haven't logged in after received that email, we can wait another 3 days and then send them another email to prompt them to come back and start consuming our content. Because again, one of the biggest factors of churn is people just don't log in and consume the content. They don't get value, they cancel. And that's just kind of the way that it is. So we can at least mitigate that process, if not by a large percentage, by a small percentage, by offering these little bumps in order to prompt someone to log in. So they will never receive those emails if they log in within those 7 day periods. You can set the periods longer. You can set the periods shorter. You can also add further emails if they fail to log in at any given point. So if you do anything or you implement anything that we've talked about during this webinar, this is probably one of the lowest hanging fruit things you can do. And you can do this for absolutely free. Are there any questions?
First, I'd like to congratulate you because this is one of the top feature requests we get at Lifter LMS, and I'm glad that you've solved it. If somebody hasn't logged in X amount of time, I want to be able to send an email. We currently don't have that, so I'm really excited you brought this to the webinar. I didn't realize that Groundhog did that, so thank you for doing that.
Yeah, it's one of the simplest things, but also one of the most effective and powerful things. You know, people forget. People have lives. People go on vacation, right? And it's like, hey, listen, come back. You know, we want you to consume this content. We want to provide you the value that you paid for, and this is the way that you can do that. This one,
I have a question just about functionality here. Is this like an automation or funnel like this? Is this something that do you have the option to say, I only want this to run once, or I want it to run multiple times or whatever?
Oh,
there we go.
So you can select the number of times. So if someone logs in for the first time, then it would be like that. If you want to do it if they logged in the second time, if they logged it in the third time, you'd be able to do it like that. Does that answer your question?
Well, I just mean, like, what if they a week goes by and they don't come back, so it re-engages them, and then they get engaged and then they fall off for a while again. Will this run again?
Yep, it'll run again.
Okay.
So this process, the way that it's set up right now, if I just select anytime, this process is perpetual. So this will run for everybody whenever anybody logs in for eternity until you either turn it off or change it.
Cool. We've got a question from Michael in the audience. Can I track Lifter LMS user progress and automate emails to them via Groundhog?
Yes, you can with WP Fusion, which I'm actually going to get to in a second. But essentially what you'd be able to do is if you wanted to start off a sequence when someone makes it a partway through a course, you'd be able to apply a tag, for example, when course is completed, and then start off automation following that. So apply a tag, completed course right at the top of the funnel there. And then anything that came after that would essentially spark off that automation. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think that does.
Brilliant.
And he said, very cool. And we got another question from John. Do you think this will work for gamification, like scoring? Let's say first 3 get a prize of some kind.
I mean, there are processes that you could do in order to do that. Groundhog is not meant as a gamification platform. That's not exactly what we do. We do automation, email marketing, SMS marketing, and processes and stuff like that. There are actual gamification tools that you can go get. I'm not sure if any of them natively integrate with Lifter. That is a Chris question.
There's one called GamyPress that's very popular in the WordPress and Lifter element. They have a specific Lifter integration that does points, ranks, and badges. But
so that I would investigate a tool like that if you're looking at providing gamification specifically to Lifter LMS. Hopefully that answers your question. I mean, there's ways that you could do it. They'd be a little bit janky and probably not the most intuitive process that you'd be looking for.
Cool. That's it for right now.
Awesome. Okay. All right. So that basically covers everything that I wanted to. To recap, you can save yourself a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of sanity by utilizing some basic automation to take care of the simple things like making sure people are logging in, people are consuming your content, people feel that they are loved and that you're communicating with them. You provide a well-designed onboarding process. You don't let easy sales fall through the cracks by providing a cart abandonment series. And you stay in constant communication with your customers. That's probably the biggest and most important one, is that constant level of communication and ensuring that they feel the love. And that's honestly, even the stuff that we went over today, that's really just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what Groundhog is actually capable of. There are so many features that we weren't able to go over today. For example, there's the premium add-ons that we provide, like sales pipeline, social proof, the multitude of integrations that exist for Groundhog that allows you to connect it to plugins like Lifter, LMS, and other ones as well.
I think I would just also mention Lifter has a WooCommerce integration. Do you guys integrate with WooCommerce? We
integrate with WooCommerce, easy to downloads, WP Simple Pay, and all of the e-commerce add-ons or all the e-commerce plugins that exist out there, the big ones anyway. So really, we're only scratching the surface of what automation, what processes you can build with Groundhog in order to seriously maximize revenue, decrease churn, and increase customer or student retention. So I encourage you, if you found any of this useful, to at least go try out the Groundhog, the free plugin, which is free. Everything I showed you today is free, and you can implement at least one of those strategies and see if it helps you at all. If it doesn't, well, then it might not be the system for you. If it does help you, well, then there you have your answer. I did mention WP Fusion a few times throughout the webinar today. To integrate Groundhog with Lifter LMS quickly, efficiently, and easily, then you can go get something called WP Fusion. It's made by a guy named Jack Oturo. He's an acquaintance of mine, super nice guy, really, really good developer, great support. And it allows you to not only connect Lifter LMS and Groundhog, but you can connect Groundhog to a variety of different plugins out there, as well as you can connect Lifter LMS to a variety of different plugins out there. If you're familiar with a tool called Zapier, it's basically like Zapier, but specifically for WordPress tools. So it's super cool, and this is what you need in order to get that integration going right off the bat and starting right away.
Could you maybe show, just for somebody who's not sure, where would somebody go, or how would they get the free Groundhog plugin? How would they get started?
Absolutely. So what someone would need to do is they can go to 2 places. They can either go to groundhog.io, and it'll load soon, anytime now. There we go. And they can click the download button and that will take them through our registration process. Now, if you would like to go through our onboarding process and a few of the funnels that I actually displayed today and showcased during the webinar, then you can go here, give us a first name, last name, email address, and agree to our terms of service. And then you'll go through that onboarding process, that constant communication, the feeling, the love, the one-on-one, and go through that. Or if you don't want to give us your email address and you'd rather just totally stay out of that whole process, you can go directly to WordPress and download our plugin from the WordPress repository there. So those are the two ways that you can get started with Groundhog. Go check it out, and it's free, so you have nothing to lose, no risk.
Very cool.
All righty.
All right. Who's got questions? Put them in the chat. Put them in the Q&A. While we're waiting to see if we have more questions, you answered a lot as we went, so we'll see if people have more questions. But what's on the horizon? Can you just tell us about the future? Sometimes people ask me a lot, like, where are you guys going? They'd like to know before they commit and invest in the tool.
Absolutely. So currently, we have been focused on providing our partner program, which I talked a little bit about. Our partner program is geared towards including freelancers, agencies, developers in a special community within the Groundhog community that are allowed to directly contribute to the growth of the company, of the growth of the plugin, its development, its features, as well as us in return providing selling tools, implementation help, as well as some resources in order to get them started and making sure that they're successful with Groundhog and in their business themselves. So that's something that we've been really focusing on, is being able to provide that two-way communication between us and our partners and allowing us to grow together. That's something that I've personally been working on a lot in the last couple of months. So if you're a freelancer, if you're an agency, or you're looking to find a way or add another service that allows you to help your clients grow their business, then that's something I highly recommend that you look into. In terms of the actual technology and the plugin itself, what we've been up to, and actually what I'm going to do right now is I am going to stop sharing my screen so people can see me. There we go. What we've been doing recently is focusing on our 2.0 development. So plugins go through their 1.0 stage, their 2.0 stage, their 3.0 stage, and currently we're looking at our 2.0 stage. And that is going to seriously future-proof our plugin for now and hopefully many years to come. We're offering a huge usability improvement as well as significant performance improvements. One of the biggest questions that we get the most is Groundhog scalability. People want to know if they're going to be able to use our tool when they have 10,000 contacts, 20,000 contacts, 30,000
We get that question
contacts.
a lot too.
Right? You know, if I have 40,000 students, is Groundhog going to be able to handle that? The answer is yes. Yes, we will. And it's all, 2.0 is about making sure that the tools and the systems and essentially just the code is in place in order to be able to handle that demand as our users grow with us and they start to see those lists balloon over time, as hopefully our list will balloon over time. We're looking forward to that as well. And we use our own tools. We practice what we preach. So it has to be big, or it has to be good when we get big, right? So we're really focused on that. So a lot of future proofing going on, a lot of community building going on. And that's really where we're headed. We actually recently, we are a new company. We only collected our first payment in February. And we've come a super long way since then. And we've just surpassed the 300 active user mark on WordPress. It doesn't seem that big. It's super big for me since, you know, we had 0 in February. So we're happy about that. It's trucking along, and we're going good places. We're going good places. 2.0 will be coming out in August, late August, early September, so not too far away. We've actually just finished the internal testing process of all of the add-ons, all of the extensions, and right now it's just a matter of the logistics of actually, going through it, the update process and making sure everything's hunky-dory, backwards compatibility, stuff like that. That's
awesome. Well, thanks for answering that. And if anybody has any final questions, drop them in. And while just giving you a chance for any final questions, we're going to draw our giveaway winner in a second. But do you want to tell us, Adrian, what's on the board behind you? You've got a code behind you.
So on the board behind me is a code for 25%. So if Groundhog is something that you want to invest in, something that you think that might be able to seriously maximize your LMS, your website, your membership, whatever it is that you offer, and Groundhog will be able to help you increase your revenue, increase student retention, decrease churn, all of that good stuff, then you can pick up Any of our extensions or our all access pass. Our all access pass is kind of similar to the Lifter LMS Infinity Bundle. So if you have that, essentially the same thing. Get all of our add-ons, all of our extensions, one fee, and you can go ahead and you can grab that for 25% off. This code will expire on August 7th. So 7 days from now, 6 days from now, 7 days from now. So you can go use that and get an instant 25% off. So if you are interested in that, you can go do that. If not, that's fine. I highly recommend that you go download Groundhog right now, install on your website. It's absolutely free. There's no risk. And you can start seeing, some of the awesome things that'll be able to do for your company.
We got a pricing question. Is there a lifetime agency price that you guys have available?
There is not a lifetime agency price. And most likely, if you are an agency, you're going to end up on a page that says agency pricing. I want you to ignore that page because more often than not, it's not for you. Agency pricing or that pricing page is for companies that are of a significant size and like the thousands of clients that they just basically white label a solution and push it out to all of their people. So I want you to ignore that page and head on over to the regular pricing page instead and focus on that pricing. But there is no lifetime access that we offer at the moment. It was all yearly. There's no monthly fees. It's all yearly fees.
Awesome. And that's Groundhog with 2 G's at the end, folks. I wanted to drop one more value bomb before we do our giveaway. And that's if you're going to implement Groundhog right now, what's the low hanging fruit? And maybe we can do this together, Adrian. I'm just going to throw a couple out there. I'll take the easy ones. One is that login re-engagement funnel is really cool. If they haven't logged in and 2 weeks doing a follow-up or check-in, that could be really powerful. The webinar registration, especially if you have a higher priced program like $200, $1,000, $2,000 and up, you're going to need, the sales process is going to be bigger. You're going to have things like webinars and perhaps one-on-one sales calls and things. And you can start mapping out that flow in Groundhog. Even if you do something more simple, that's cool. Like I noticed you guys have a lead magnet funnel where if you just have like a checklist or kind of a process map or something, PDF that's a good lead magnet to go ahead and start building your email list. That's one thing course creators do a lot is they go into the course creation cave, they close the door for months and years. They should be building community and early, as I like to say. So those are a couple low hanging fruit things that I just wanted to put out there. What other, from all your experience around marketing automation and list building and stuff, what do you recommend course creators do? The
lowest hanging fruit, I think for as far as I'll do two. I'll do creators in general, and then I'll do Groundhog specific first in terms of low hanging fruit. But the lowest hanging fruit might be different in terms of general course creation. So the lowest hanging fruit for Groundhog is if you just go and install it on your site right now, and you already have students in your site, you can click a button and convert all of your students into Groundhog contacts, and then send them an email like today or like in an hour from now. That is something that you'd be able to do with our plugin and say, hey, listen, we just got this new email software and it's super cool and it's going to allow us to communicate with you better. That's some seriously low hanging fruit that you can do right now. It'll take you like an hour. I just want to add to that. This is a very popular feature request. I was just talking with Thomas on our team. People want to send broadcast emails from Lifter LMS. And I was like, Thomas, don't worry about it. Groundhog does it now. So they're going to handle the broadcasting function. That's in your wheelhouse. It's the one-to-many email solution. So if you want that, and I just want to echo what you're saying, that's a really powerful tool to be able to do that from your WordPress site. Yeah. If you just want to say, hey, listen, you have students already, but they don't know about your higher value course. You want to take all your low value students that, they have signed up already, but they're in your low value course. You want to upgrade them. You can just, convert them all into contacts, shoot them a broadcast email, say, hey, listen, did you know that this existed? They might not know it exists. If they only went through their one course, they got what they came for and they left, they might not even know that it existed. So this will allow you to let them know that, hey, listen, this thing exists and this is where you can go to get it. Here's your 25% discount until August 7th in order for you to be able to actually claim any sort of deal that you want to, or deal value limitation on that course. So that's probably the lowest hanging fruit that you can do right now. Again, with the login abandonment campaign, super, super low hanging fruit there. And as well as the webinar registration is a little bit higher level, but also, if you have a sales process, then it's a little bit lower hanging as well. In terms of overall course creation, not Groundhog specific, I recently just went through the cave process.
Oh, you did.
of creating a little, not super extreme, but of creating this partner certification program. What I
How
did
long did
not
it take you? I gotta, now we're talking, now you're on the podcast, so I gotta do a little case to, I'm just curious. I'll keep it short. How long did it take you? How long were you in the
it
cave?
took me it took me about a month and a half to actually do, but that is only dedicating about a day a week.
Yeah,
to doing it. So it's not too bad. I was able to hammer out. They're not long videos. They're between 10 and a half an hour long. Terry's on the call, actually went through it, so he can testify. And about 3 videos a day, recorded it. And then I did one full day of like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. of just editing everything and just tried to do it as quickly as possible and be able to get it out there. One of the things that I truly believe is that nothing is ever perfect. And nothing is permanent. And if you ever took a world religions class, then the Buddhists are like, nothing is permanent. I did that in high school. So nothing is permanent. And I know that the information that I recorded will one day be obsolete. And that's fine. And I'm aware of that. So what I mentally told myself as I was going through this course through this recording process and designing the course is that this information is good enough for now. And it will fill the void and provide my partners with the information that they're going to need for now. And it will change later. So I'm not going to spend days and hours and months re-recording every video until it's absolutely perfect, because all of that time is better spent providing value to the people that are going to be taking your course, in addition to the course that you actually provide. So yes, we have the course, and that is a big pillar of the partner certification program, but it's so much more than just a course. It is the one-on-one calls. It is the supporting resources. It is the affiliate program. It is the vendor program. It is the marketplace. There's so many other value additions that come as part of being a community. And that is the big thing, is that the partner certification program is really about community. And I can focus all day on, recording videos 10 times over to make sure it's absolutely perfect. Or I can focus on making sure that the value that's in it is in it, and that the value that needs to be in it is in it. And then focus on building that community, because the community is always so much more powerful than the content.
That's awesome. Terry is saying he's going to implement Groundhog and perhaps Lifter LMS soon. Is there a Lifter LMS overview video I can show my client? I'm just going to say there's 2 things I'd recommend. One of them is the $1 30-day demo. That's where we spool up a website that has a bunch of sample content. It's yours, your logins. You can add Groundhog to it. You can mess around with it, change the content. It's a very powerful sales tool. A lot of people who sell Lifter projects to clients, they first get the $1 demo or the 30-day demo as a presentation tool. The other thing you can do is go to the Lifter LMS courses site. It's academy.lifterlms.com, and there's the Lifter Quick Start course, which takes only 20 minutes. It helps people get up and running. It's essentially an onboarding course. But just by looking at our academy, you can kind of get a sense of what it's like to use Lifter LMS. So those are a couple vehicles for that. John says that he's really excited about the funnel system that you can make on a per lesson basis. So getting super focused on where at this lesson, maybe you just completed the one before or right after you finish this, he really maps out a certain flow that he's excited to implement. And
I'm excited for you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. We also just drew our winner. It is Terry. You're all over the place. It's Terry Allison. It's a free year of a $99 of Lifter LMS add-on. So you can use that against something bigger, get a $99 add-on. If you're already a customer, we'll extend the value of your license. You can email team@lifterlms.com and we'll hook you up with that. John is saying that he's going to be adding Groundhog today. That's awesome, John. My experience working with Adrian, he's really approachable. He has office hours like we do at Lifter. So, he's kind of got that frontline focus with people using the tools. So, yeah, that's awesome. Let us know how it goes. Any final words for the people, Adrian? And thank you for doing this presentation. I really, really appreciate you putting it together and, building something like a platform inside of WordPress. I know because I've kind of been through it a little bit. It's challenging. It's difficult. And I admire where you're at and what you're doing and the mission. And, keep up the great work.
It's all about helping for us, right? It's about, you know, the where I come from and the other companies that I used to work with, you know, it's for them, it's a lot of it more is like bottom line focused a lot of the time. And that's fine. And that works for some people. But I always took an approach about helping first. It's always about, you know, how much value can we provide before we actually have to collect money in order to make sure that we can continue operation. So that's why everything is free and why we provide that level of value, because we just want to help you. If we want to make sure that, you know, if you have goals and you're going towards the goals, we want to help you get there. And if you think that our tool will allow you to help you get there a little bit faster, then that's awesome. And we'd love for you to be part of our community. Join our Facebook group. You can talk to me personally during office hours and all of that good stuff. So we'd love to have you in our community and part of the group.
That's awesome. So that's groundhog.io. I love that you guys give away so much value for free. That's kind of the way we roll too. So you could actually test out Lifter and Groundhog together at zero risk. It's if you're just getting started, that's awesome. But yeah, thank you again. There's Adrian's contact details, info@groundhog.io. It's got the website and then also a Facebook group. We'll put a link in our Facebook group to that one as well. So if you're watching this on, we'll post a comment on YouTube as well. If you're watching this on the YouTube live stream or on the Facebook group, we'll link all that stuff up in a comment down below. Adrian, thanks so much for coming. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's been awesome. I hope I was able to help and provide a significant amount of value for your listeners and for anybody who came here today. So thank you for having me. I hope to see everybody as part of our community one day. And I look forward to seeing everybody's success with or without Groundhog in the future.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for coming. Kathy, thanks for helping putting this on. And I hope everybody has a great rest of your day.